Welcome everybody back to Citizen Sleeper. We're on the DLC episode Refuge. At the end of the last episode, where we finished off DLC 1, episode Flux, a wave of energy came from space and hit the flotilla that we had just gone to great lengths to rescue. The next thing I've got queued up is to go and speak to Peak, the cautious spacer, the cautious Irish spacer, and I've got a whole bunch of good dice here, a reroll available, and my condition is stable. Upgrades wise, I just need another point to get a tasty upgrade. Oh, yeah. So I'm keen on that. I have no active drives, and look at the complete ones I've got. Absolutely loads. So let's talk to Peak. The cordon. Even before you reach the cordon, the damage is obvious. The blinking red lights, the drones, the tugs are all gone. Half the cordon's frame has also been shorn away, perhaps through the impact of some falling ship. People push past you in the corridor, both Havanage staff and contractors, clearing the cordon. Gonna try to speak to them. You're met with suspicious looks and scattered warnings, but little else. From the equipment being carried out, you suspect this is no relief effort. Havanage are pulling out of this section of the station. The further you pass into the cordon, the less people you see. You can see a few sections have been closed off, their bulkhead doors sealed and red warning lights punctuating the corridors, but otherwise most areas seem functional. Suddenly you feel a hand fall on your shoulder. Havanage security? You should have known better than to wander into this place. You brace yourself as you turn. Sleeper! Peak embraces you as you turn. What are you doing here? Did you see the cordon go down? Did Esh speak with you? Peak glances around and you can see why they are panicked. I'm going to say, where's Esh? I have no idea. Peak runs a hand through their hair. I was away from the ship and when I got back she'd taken it and gone. Then I saw the damage to the cordon. Peak looks at you with wild eyes. What if this is some Havanage attempt to clear the flotilla, to scuttle the refugee ships? It isn't. Peak pauses. What do you know, Sleeper? I'm going to say something hit the station, because it was kind of a wave. There was a wave and something knocked me out. This is a bit self-centered, so I'm going to go with something hit the station. Peak looks incredulous. Hit? Sleeper, we'd all be dead if that was the case. They pause to think. Maybe not an object, but a shockwave? A signal? An EMP would have taken out most of the station, but... Pete runs a hand through their hair. I don't know what you're saying, Sleeper. That doesn't sound... They look away down the corridor for a moment. Look, I have to find Esh. I'm sure you felt something, but we can talk about that later. They set off down the corridor. I can't sit around talking any longer. Find me on the flotilla. I'm going to find a way to Esh no matter what. With that, they rush away into the depths of the cordon, leaving you behind. Seems like you'll need to follow if you want to get any answers. Interesting. Okay, so we have the cordon here with a big barrier mark on it. Scrap for passage. You find a small shuttle scavenging supplies from the cordon to take back to the flotilla. They'll take you too if you bring some scrap along. Well, it just so happens that I thought this might be a thing. I haven't played this before, but I just got a feeling. So I have 2 bits of scrap here already. It was worth the work I did at the end of the last episode. I also have 4 ship mine fragments and a full ship mine, so that's pretty good. Go me. Okay, so I've got access to the flotilla. Let's have a little look at the flotilla because this is cool. So there's some kind of like habitation ship here that spins. There's a small, looks like a little freight ship. I'm not sure what this is. This also looks like a freight ship. So this is more like a cruiser. So this thing must be colossal. And then this must be almost like a habitat ship with a few little freight ships dotted around it. And this one looks like some kind of container storage. Anyway. The flotilla. Okay, so we want to get the objective Flotilla's friend, shifting ships, systems and social structures. The only way to navigate the flotilla is by rolling up your sleeves and helping out. We've got the option here to haul supplies. Getting the necessary supplies to each ship to meet their needs is a huge task. Joining the hauling teams is the simplest thing that you can do to help. Or damage control. The wave hits systems more than anything, especially on the ships, so there's 1,000 tiny repair jobs to be done. Well, this one has +2, so I can put some of my low dice in and get a guaranteed outcome, which is nice. Let's pop this 3 in there. Cool. And this 3. Excellent. And then this one's got a danger on it, so I'll just do that for the sake of it. So I've got the 6 there. Very good. And then I only need one more, so let's re-roll that dice. Nice. Nice. So we are the Flotilla's friend all in one quick day, and we got some energy. Alright, so there's Peak, and this is Sol, the pragmatic captain. Let's talk to Peak first, because we know him. As you walk into the bay of the Climbing Briar, oh, there's the Climbing Briar, look, just docked with this bigger ship. The familiarity of the space overcomes any trepidation. It feels good to be back, and the return feels earned, especially after all the work it took to figure out a route through the flotilla's jumble of ships that might lead you to this blue streak. You see Esh and Peak immediately, sitting at the back of the bay, deep in conversation. Their closeness causes you to stop, suddenly aware that you might be interrupting something private. Peak is gesturing wildly as Esh stares out into the middle distance, hunched over. As Peak tries to get her attention, she spots you. Sleeper? Esh nods. Incredible work back there, she smiles. I'm sorry I couldn't wait for you and Peak, but the moment I saw the cordon go down, I had to get in here. Peak shakes their head. Leaping before looking as usual. Peak smiles. But I'm glad we're all reunited. To be honest, Peak adds, I can't believe it. The flux event knocked the entire cordon system offline. The flotilla is free and Havanage are backing off. Peak smiles at you. You must be our good luck charm. Flux event? That's what the refugees are calling it, Peak explains. Apparently that's what they called it when it started happening around Ember. What exactly is happening? Hard to tell. It's some kind of disruptive wave that only affects electrical systems, Peak chips in. Typically, systems are screened against radiation and interference, but this seems to be dulled, but not stopped by those defences. Ah, interesting. Basically, the crisis continues. The cordon may be down, but this brings a whole other set of problems. Esh paces away. You should tell them, Esh. Peak glances at her. Please. Esh doesn't respond. Tell you what? You stare at her back, waiting for a response. Please, Esh, haven't they shown they can be trusted? Peak nods towards you. Esh turns, her arms folded tightly across her chest. She goes to start and then stops. You can see the anger in her eyes, but you realise it's not directed at you or at anyone else. She's angry with herself. I brought weapons to the flotilla, she pauses. And now they are gone. You suddenly remember the sleek crates that were tucked into the bay, marked with a yellow sigil, the ones Esh told you were just supplies. What do you mean, gone? What do you think? Esh snaps. Someone lifted them from the ship's bay while I was unloading all the supplies. She sniffs. At least they're in the hands of the flotilla now. Peak looks at you. She knows this was a bad move, Sleeper, I promise you. They glance back at her. She's just too proud to admit it. Where did you get them from? XPR. Esh gestures around the ship. I wasn't about to leave the colony armed when we escaped. I wouldn't trust them not to use them on us. Peak sighs. I didn't know a thing about them, which is why Esh is going to be the one to find them and bring them back. Let's stay silent for this one. Meanwhile, Peak adds, you and I have work to do. I want to understand the flux, Sleeper, to study it. Peak's eyes light up. This thing is changing the entire system, causing problems across the inner system, driving refugees off Ember's moons, and now it's here. If we don't do something about it... Peak pauses. It's a problem for all of us. I can see more immediate problems, Esh sniffs. Peak ignores her. I've been looking at the networks, and when the flux event hit, it changed things. It shuffled systems, corrupted nodes, and broke open data stores. They take out a slate and show you a flickering polygon. Some of these flux nodes have appeared near the epicenter of the event, but I can't get access. You, however, I saw the way you worked with data when we were preparing for the run. I think you can get into these things. I want you to find a fluxed node and bring me anything you can extract. They come and go, but most can be found in the barely functioning networks of the wastes. Peak pauses. Start there. Perhaps together we can find something that might point us to what the flux is and where it comes from. How will that help? I know how that'll help. Okay. They smile. I knew you'd agree. Ash looks indignant. Don't waste too much time chasing ghosts, Sleeper. There are people on this flotilla that need any help they can get. I'm sure a Sleeper can do both, Ash. Peak smiles at you. I see you here when you have something. Good hunting. And they wave at you as Ash stomps away to make plans of her own. Okay, so we've got a drive, and that is to study the flux. Peak wants your help to study and understand the flux event that occurred on the station. Cool, we'll track that one. And then let's see what it actually entails. So we need the flux data. Peak asks you to help them extract data from a node in the wastes, one that appeared after the recent flux event. Cool, can do that. I wonder what happens if we go into the cloud here. Doesn't look like there's anything here. Nah. Okay. Let's have a chat with Sol, the pragmatic captain. I've got a voice for this guy. Someone told me I should be thanking you. The voice comes from behind you, cutting through the chaos of the crowded cavernous bay. You freeze. Don't be afraid now. I've been hunting you for sure, but for all the best reasons. You turn to see bright eyes set in a rough face, framed in rusted metal. Sol. Okay. Sol. He holds out his hand, the other clamped firmly around a knotted wooden cane. So this guy's got a lot of like padding on. He's got what looks like an oxygen tank attached to him. He's got a little mechanical arm coming out of the back of his outfit. Maybe some cricket armour. And a metal cage around his face that kind of looks like it protects him from harm. So he clearly has some form of disability that's being compensated for by armour and technology and stuff. He holds out his hand. The other clamp fairly around and not would do. Oh, I said that. Okay. Let's shake his hand. He grips you firmly with a heavy and calloused hand. Forgive me. As soon as I saw you, I knew who you were. Sol puts a hand on your shoulder. I've been told a Sleeper was part of that supply run that came in several cycles ago. He nodded. A very welcome act, and we all thank you for it. Walk with me, Sleeper. Sol sets off through the bay, his partial suit hissing and creaking as it helps carry him through the busy crowds. You notice people making way for you and Sol, standing back and letting you pass. You pass a makeshift kitchen, steaming pots on heating elements, a restless queue collecting meals. That algae that came through isn't exactly a full meal, but with what we have here, we've been able to make it work. You see a ladle of greenish stew dished out. The colour is something, isn't it? Sol smiles. Sol leads you out of the larger bay into a corridor lined with storage rooms that are now serving as dorms. You see someone filling a metal container from a standpipe, the water gushing out readily. Sol nods to the person as he passes. Just a little further now. Sol leads you into a freight elevator and whistles to some unseen operator to start it up. It jerks into life, and as you pass through the layers of the ship, you see people on every level, supplies crammed into every available space, and sparks leaping in bursts as the ship is reshaped and modified to sustain its population. If Havanage were expecting an exodus from the flotilla, the flux event has put a stop to that. Sol stretches. Some have crossed to the eye, but many just to gather salvage or score a hot meal. So the pressure on our supplies is shrinking, but not like I'd hoped. With the flux reaching all the way here, people are starting to understand that our journey might not be over. Sol stares grimly ahead. Suddenly the freight elevator screeches to a halt, and Sol leads you slowly out into a wide room of chairs and terminals, ringed by a mezzanine with a glass roof above showing a distant hub and the far curve of the eye beyond. The people at the terminals nod to him as he enters. I'm going to ask, this is your ship? Sol nods. That's right, the Pilgrim Seed is mine to care for. He leads you up to a railed platform at the centre of the room and stops. She chose me, so to speak. Well, at least her crew did, and I do my best to serve them. Sol looks around the bridge of the ship, a pained expression on his face. I'll admit that the responsibility isn't one that suits me, though we rarely get to choose such things. He glances back at you. But you, Sleeper, from what I understand, you chose to try to help us here, is that right? I would say I did my best to. Sol nods silently. But I have to ask you, Sleeper, why are you here now? Sol leans back, and you feel his eyes on you, assessing you. I'm going to say I still want to help. Sol nods. I've got to be honest with you, Sleeper, I'm not quite buying it. He smiles. I'm not trying to make judgments on your character, but in my experience people do things for more reasons than just being helpful. I have thousands of people here on the Pilgrim Seed, Sleeper, and there's thousands more out in the Flotilla. He leans against the railing. A lot of them are looking for me to provide some future for them, some path out of this dead end we've gotten into. And this cycle, this very cycle, the things we've been running away from, it just caught up with us. The thing we've been running away from, it just caught up with us. So these people are scared, Sleeper, and they're looking to me for reassurance. And then, on the same cycle, someone tells me they see you on board, a Sleeper. The same Sleeper, they reckon, that wanted so strongly to send a ship past the cordon to see us. Sol scratches at his beard. So the first thing I wanted to do was thank you for that, for your interest. He pauses. But the second thing I wanted to do was find out what you want from us. Sol's suit hisses and creaks. I think that's fair, don't you? Sol takes a deep breath. So what is it? Well, I mean, from my perspective as the player, it's just this is the next bit of the story. But like, I suppose the Sleeper is keen to build a life. So I'm going to pick an answer that kind of fits around that. Let me help these people. Someone at a terminal calls out to Sol, and he shouts some orders back. He turns to you. Apologies. He smiles, that half smile. So it's quite cynical, is Sol, quite guarded. You really want to help? Well, I think I can make use of you. He squints. But you're going to see that things are a little more complicated than you might have thought. I may be the captain of the Pilgrim Seed, and she's certainly the biggest ship in the flotilla, but I'm not the only captain here. We have ships here from each of the moons. We're from Ember's Hearth. So there's... we're from Ember's Hearth, but there's others from Ember's Song and even Ember's Step. I suppose those are the names of the moons? Or like... Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, each of the moons, right. What an idiot, yeah. So we have ships here from each of the moons. Ember's Hearth, Ember's Song and Ember's Step. The moons have been at each other's throats, Sleeper. What with the pressure of the flux, the bad blood from the old days. Sol leans in. We aren't exactly all in alignment. What I need is a way to stop things escalating, for the crews on these ships and their captains to feel happy and comfortable enough to forget old rivalries and past crimes. He flinches at something. Those from Ember's Steps, well, they've always been proud, but that pride seems to be a barrier to compromise right now. The last set of supplies I sent their way, they refuse. Meanwhile, I have a supply shuttle at the docking axis the Ember's Song ships gather at, but they've taken far too many cycles to unload. Maybe if you're heading that way, you can look in on them. I'm no politician, Sleeper, but if I don't... Sol stops. He leans back and flexes, his suit screeching. He groans a little, and you see the weight of the flotilla sitting on his shoulders, the suit the only thing keeping him vertical beneath all that pressure. Look, you'll see for yourself if you go. Meet the others, Sleeper. See what they need. Keep them aligned. He speaks through the pain, his voice clipped. I'm going to ask, are you okay? Not really, but as long as this thing holds, he grimaces. I hope. Sol grits his teeth. You are what you appear to be, Sleeper. He smiles his half-smile despite the pain, because I'm not sure I can take any more bad news. Plus, there's plenty to be done here on the Pilgrim Seed too. If you have a moment to pitch in, there's never enough around here. That's something I've always learned. That's something I've learned the hard way. Sol settles onto his cane, the pain visibly receding. All right, I have 1,000 things to attend to now, Sleeper, so you'll have to find your own way out. And with that, Sol sits at his terminal with slow and careful movements. You head back down in the freight elevator, and as you do, you see again the layers and layers of chaotic life this vessel, and all the vessels of the flotilla, hold. Alright, it's got a new drive here as well, which is Flotilla support. Sol is asking you to help bring stability to the ships from Ember's Hearth, Song, Song, and Step within the flotilla. Cool. Let's see what the jobs are for that. So we've got Pilgrim Seed support, Hearth survival. So this is halfway done. Maybe that's because we completed the thing. Hearth survival. Whether Esh got her supplies through the cordon or not, Pilgrim Seed and the Hearth refugees on it desperately need help. Step, Song, and Hearth. Stability in the flotilla means relieving the pressure on the refugees from all the 3 moons of Ember. So, Matsutake caps. I've got 2 and I need 3. Okay, that's good. So dice and mushrooms can contribute to this. Excellent. Right. So let's leave there. I don't have a bedroom on here yet, but oh, there's more stuff. Cool. Docking axis. Unload supplies. Sol's shipment of supplies sits partially unloaded, the crew absent. If you want to help, the best way would be to finish the job. So am I just like EVAing between these ships? Just like jumping from ship to ship? That's cool. We have a new person here. Aki, Ember's Step Refugee. I like this symbol. Flotilla ship. It's a strange sight, given your time spent in the Greenway, to see a greenhouse choked in red dust. It piles up along edges, gathers in curving waves, and is carried by some unseen wind to whirl in front of the glass ceiling. It is a desert in miniature, a captured landscape of iron-rich sediment and unseen life. Beautiful, isn't it? The remark comes from another figure standing at the viewing window, so quietly that you hadn't noticed them. Did they just arrive, or were they here before you were? Their cloth-swaddled form reveals little. I'm going to say it is beautiful. They say nothing. You catch a glimpse of a pale face among the thick material, dark eyes glittering in the red reflected light. Aki. They turn to you as the dust swirls. Aki. They smile a tight smile. You are not from the flotilla, am I right? I live on the eye. But that is not where you are from. She stares into the greenhouse. Everyone is from somewhere, whether they wish to be or not. The red dust glitters in her eyes, whether it is a good place to be from or not. Aki gathers her cloak around her shoulders against the cold. What brings you to the wind's long shadow? Sol sent me. I mean, I'm not going to ask this, because obviously that's the name of this cool ship. Aki doesn't respond. She looks absent-mindedly at the dust. Or maybe she doesn't like Sol. Whoops. You are a strange one. Aki raises an eyebrow. I don't know whether to report you or send you back to where you came from. She smiles to herself, which is nowhere at all. You glance around the empty corridor, suddenly aware of how quiet it is on the ship. Unlike the other ships you've been on, the flotilla, there is a silent order to the wind's long shadow, and in this moment it feels unsettling. I ask, where is everyone? Aki waves a hand. Asleep mostly. It is night on Step, and so it is night here. She rubs her shoulders. At least for those of us who can sleep. So Step is the name of their moon, so I'm going to stay silent. Aki lets the silence sit, and you hear the wind and dust scratching at the viewing window. You hear a creak as a set of shutters slowly begin to close across the glass ceiling of the greenhouse. As you watch, you feel the dissonance of this place. The dissonance this place has with that word. There is nothing green here. A dust house, perhaps. It takes many systems to preserve this landscape, Aki begins, to simulate the wind, cycle the dust, layer the sand and dirt beneath. You watch the dust swirling. Systems that are failing. The flux event, Aki glances at you for a sign of recognition at this term, is eroding our ability to keep this place alive, to keep these traces of Step alive. She smiles to herself. So Aki has a kind of a desert outfit. She's got a lot of loose fabrics around her. Looks like a water bottle on her hip. A gas mask around her neck ready to be deployed on her face. And then she's got a large, loose... it's almost like a turban, but not quite. if this headgear exists on Earth somewhere. I don't quite recognise it, but it looks kind of like it's geared up for desert living, you know. But there's still a modern quality to it. It's a cool design, actually. Okay. Which is ironic, because when we left Steppe, the flux had eroded our ability to survive on the moon. Now the situation is reversed. Away from the moon, its ecosystems are as fragile as we were, living upon it. Something catches your eye as the shutters darken the dust house. The winds, picking away at the dunes, begin to reveal something. A web, a network of thick branching forms, and then they close completely, and you see nothing in the dark. Soft blue lights flicker on in the corridor, uplighting Aki in cold cyan. You have piqued my curiosity, but I'm so tired. Aki shivers. If you do not have a purpose here on the ship, I recommend finding one. Otherwise, I'm afraid you need to leave. Make yourself useful, and perhaps we will get another chance to talk. She turns. I would like that. With that, Aki pads away along the corridor. You stand for a moment in front of the dark dust house, trying to imagine the network of roots under the sand and dust, and then trying to imagine the moon that once housed them. Cool. So she wants us to do some work. Systems repair. The crew won't let you into the dust houses, but there are plenty of supporting systems that could do with some love and care. Make yourself useful. Aki warned you that if you wanted to learn more about the wind's long shadow, you will need to prove your usefulness. Okay, so we can drop some dice into that, and we've got a good modifier for it. So I've got a few different jobs I can do. The one with peak looks like it's going to open up more stuff, so I actually might go into Flotilla support here. We've got a few different things that we can then do. That's going to be my priority. So let's go back to somewhere where we can sleep. We should have our house where the climbing briar was. Can't self-repair, so let's just end cycle. I wonder if scrap being the entry requirement was just to remind you that the wastes are there, you know. Okay, so we've got some pretty low rolls, but I can mess about with that a little bit. I think I might just start on this end one and work down. Because this looks like I can achieve it pretty quickly. How many is that? The clock on that is 6. The clock on the dust houses is 8. And then the clock on the Pilgrim's Seed is now 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I can actually do that quite quickly because I can get 3 on that. So let's right, yeah, we need seeds for that. Let's come back to the Pilgrim. I think I'm going to do this one first. Unfinished business. Oh, this looks like it's bad. This looks like a bad thing to be doing. Maybe I'm going to go over to the dust houses, actually. Kind of a wasted move there, but... Yellow is good, and green and red is bad. That's my kind of takeaway from this game. I'm also going to have to remember to spend some time, you know, growing and buying mushrooms and that kind of thing. So let's re-roll these. Got a good solid 6 there, so let's pop that in, and hopefully this 2 will just come up lucky. I'm not a gambling man, but let's see. Oh, I've got 1 more to get. All right, fair enough. Let's go. No, I want to eat. Probably just spend a bit of money. Let's see what's going on with these in a minute. Harvest mushrooms. So I've got mushrooms that I can get, and I want the club caps so that I can get some stabilizer. All right. So I'm going to need to invest a bit of time in that, which is a bit of a shame. Let's go and buy some food off of Memphis. There he is. I have got data that I can sell to get more money, so not too worried about spending money. And let's just end cycle here. It actually seems there's like quite a lot of stuff to actually do on this DLC episode. So I wonder if some things will be at cross purposes with others and other things will time out, that sort of thing. I do need these flipping club caps, so maybe I should actually invest some time in that. Didn't get them. What a pain. Man. Yes, I got him. Okay, that's good. That's good, good, good. Alright, so let's synthesize some stabilizer, which we're going to need fairly soon. I know this isn't the DLC stuff, but I don't want to run out of stabilizer because then things get really tough. So let's go to, because we've got just this one and no rerolls, let's have a look at the data nodes in the waste. Fluxed node. So I need some high rolls actually to get that. Yeah, wait, let me put that in. So maybe I can go get some more spores with my wanna. Let's try it. That may not have been a good choice. I didn't get any more spores. Okay, that was a risky move, but what can you do? So let's put the one set of spores that we do have here, and then we'll have to try and get a couple more a bit later. Somewhere I can eat here. There we go, barter for food. So I don't have to go all the way down to Memphis. Sweet. And we will just sleep at the Haifa dorm quickly. I was hoping to use that scrap that I had in reserve for scrap repair. Obviously that's not worked out. Now let's go to the Haifa dorm, to the farm again, barter for food again. Just keep that energy up. Nice. Okay, so I have 4 dice, one of which is this data stuff, so I might actually, yeah, I'm going to come back to that, because I really want to help the ships out. So I had 1 more to go on here. Let's pop, no, incorrect. I had 1 more to go on here. That's a +2, so let's pop that 4 in for a guaranteed. And let's pop the 3 in for a, because I only need 1 on this clock timer, so even if I get neutral, it'll still go up. Awesome. All right, let's see how that's developed. Aki. I see you've been contributing. Aki stands next to you at the dust house window. I was unsure what to expect when we joined the flotilla on its voyage to the Eye, but after the journey across the system, then the quarantine, and then the flux reaching all the way out here too. Aki stops herself. Thank you. She bows a little. The other ships have only been interested in sending us supplies, but we grow all we need. She gestures at the dust house. What the dust houses need, that is the problem that concerns us. She smiles and turns to you. Shall we go inside? I'd love to, yeah. Aki smiles. Come. She taps away at a panel by the window. Seems only fair that after your help with the support systems, you get to see what it is that you're maintaining. Aki leads you to an opening besides the window. You pass through a dark changing room. You notice Aki is sliding on an oxygen mask and visor. Oh, it's an oxygen mask. Okay, that explains the oxygen tank there. She looks at the swirling dust inside. Inside, it's just like Ember's step. Thin atmosphere, constant dust storms. Nothing that will bother you. She passes you a mask. The dust isn't exactly pleasant to inhale, however, so take this. You hold it to your face. She leads you through a short decontamination tunnel with its fizzing panels of purifying light, and then through to the dust house. Immediately the wind and the heat hits you. You feel the rough waves of dust scattering across your face and peer through the amber murk. Your feet slide on shifting piles of sand. Welcome to STEP, or an emulation of it at least. Aki's voice sounds distant, echoey. The terraforming process only managed to provide a limited atmosphere around the moon, one which is slowly escaping. It's been like that since I was born, so I got used to the idea. You catch her bright eyes through the amber dust. So did everything else that lives there. You feel something hard beneath your feet, beneath the sand, like a coil of rope. Look down. You instinctively look down and see something pale and twisting poking out of the sand. Aki sees you looking. This is steppe silk. It's one of the plants we established on steppe. She kicks away some red sand. Like any bast fibre, it can be retted and woven into clothes. I'm wearing some made from it myself. It's one of many species adapted to the steppes since the Solheim collapse, which is why it must be preserved. She stares out into the swirling dust. It is as much a refugee as we are, and the dust houses hold hundreds of other species. You look at the pale, unassuming root threaded quickly through the sand. Aki watches you silently. Had enough? It will be easier to speak outside. Aki leads you back out through the decontamination tunnel, which blasts the dust from both of you with a burst of metallic-tasting air, and into the changing room. Aki hangs up both the masks, patiently awaiting your questions. So I'm going to ask what happened on Ember's step. Aki pauses, pulling her shawl around her. She looks small and pale inside its layers. Steppe was already a doomed world, she sniffs. When Solheim gave the terraforming contract to Sibel, they believed they could build an atmosphere, but the moon's erratic orbit made it impossible to maintain. By the time of the Solheim collapse, the atmosphere was already fading, and Cybel's attention was on Ember's hearth. After the collapse, Cybel fell too. Its researchers scattered across the moons, and any central organisation lost. Since then, my parents' generation worked tirelessly to survive, to adapt what we had to the failing moon. The steppe silk, the other adapted species, are the life's work of the steppe's colonies. So when the flux started to collapse our computer systems, corrode and destroy our life support, our water supply, our agriculture, we had to leave. Aki sits heavily on a nearby bench. Soon, the only traces of steppe will be on this ship. Aki begins to cry quietly. You are unsure what to do. Sit beside her, I think. You sit on the bench beside her as she sobs. You understand why this ship, why the refugees from steppe, are so different. Their world was already dying when the flux arrived. Ember's steppe is a terraformed moon, a partial atmosphere, established colonies, agriculture, and yet when the flux events started, its people had to leave. You think of the eye and the delicate web of decaying systems it rests upon. What hope does a ruined station have against a wave that corrupts, corrodes, and collapses? Aki interrupts your thoughts, rubbing her eyes. Not everyone left. There wasn't room to take all the people and fill the dust houses. My parents, their friends, and many others stayed. She sniffs. We carry the steppe for them. Perhaps there is hope. We learned not to talk of hope on a dying world. There is meaning for them, and any future they can build with the time they have. She stands up. I wanted you to understand the importance of these dust houses, of what they contain. She leads you back out into the corridor. If the flux events continue to reach out to the eye, we need to build protections to ensure their safety. Aki meets your eye. What about the people? Aki looks away. We aren't idiots, Sleeper. We chose to carry this burden. We will survive. These dust houses are already decaying. I have seen it. She stares into the dust. We had thought that they would last longer, but that last flux event... Help us. Aki looks at you. Please. Oh, I definitely will. When you are ready, we'll begin the preparations for reinforcing the dust houses. We need to be ready for the next flux event. Aki's eyes shine with the last of her tears. She takes a breath. I will see you soon. Aki drifts away down the corridor, leaving you alone once more at the viewing window, watching the ragged, delicate traces of the moon known as Ember's Step. Interesting, okay. So this is all about rebuilding the dust houses. Preservation. If the dust houses are to preserve their closed biomes, they will need shielding against the flux and protecting from their slow decay. And we've got so caring for the steppe silk. Improving the dust houses isn't the only way to sustain the steppe silk. With intuitive care, the plant can be made more resistant. Dust house shielding. Aki has devised upgrades that will protect the dust houses from both flux and their slow decay. She needs you to implement them. Big risk there, -4 energy, look. That could really mess me up. Okay. So let's just take a look. I'm not too sure how this is going to go down, but it's a positive outcome. So let's just see how it works out. I'm a bit worried that I can't save everyone, you know, so I might be initiating all these different quest lines and not actually be able to complete any of them. Let's see what we get here. Oh, it's who. Okay, so I can come back and finish that off tomorrow. I'm just wondering when the next flux event is going to come and mess everything up. Let's use our Matsutake caps to boost this one, which is good because it means I don't have to spend dice. I know arguably I spent dice getting these mushrooms, so it's like a strange offset, but I want to spend the dice I now have on the other activities. Cool, that's completed. So they desperately need help, but now they've had it. Sol. Sol finds you deep in the layers of the pilgrim seed, working on a patch for a life support vent. You hear him coming, his suit hissing as he does. I had to ask around to find you, he smiles. Seems you know the place better than me these days. Doubt it. Sol nods. I was on the work crew that built this thing, so maybe you're right. He winks. Sol holds out a hand. Stand up and let me see you. He pulls you to your feet. I don't believe we've ever had a sleeper on Ember's half. Sol looks you up and down. You sure do make me wish we had. Could have done with a few workers as good as you. I say thank you. Sol nods. You're welcome. Seems like I owe you some answers, seeing as you've been working hard on the pilgrim seed these past cycles. He leans against a crate, his suit creaking. What do you want to know about? I want to know about him first, I think. Sol squints at you. You want to know about me? I'm not sure that was part of the deal I was thinking of, Sleeper. Unless you're asking about this. He raps on the metal of his suit. In case you haven't guessed, this is the only thing keeping me vertical. He adjusts the shoulder piece. It's a lifter suit made for work in the fields. We had to modify it so I could walk around after the accident. And that's all I'm saying, Sleeper, because to be honest with you, I don't owe you any more than that. You want to know about the flux, about Ember's half? Go ahead, but don't pry into my life and I won't pry into yours. Gosh, he's really sending me mixed signals, this guy. Sol lets the silence sit, staring hard at the floor. The suit seems to loom over him, looking more like a burden than a support. With the bars around his head, you suddenly start to think of it as a cage. Look, I don't mean to be rude. Let's leave it there. There's too many eyes on me on this ship as it is, and I'd rather just slip into the background, thank you very much. I don't think that's really an option for you, mate. Sol shifts on the crate. Anything else you want to ask? Yeah, there was something. Let's ask about Ember's half. Sure, he smiles. I mean, I spent my whole life on that rock, so I have plenty to tell. I'll save my life story for another time, he winks, but the short of it is that the half is the first of Ember's moons, the biggest and the most populated, which is down to the successful terraforming system Cybele set up back when Solheim owned the system. Ask about terraforming. That's right. Ember's Step was the first try, but that failed. Hearth was when they perfected their system. However, Sol holds up a hand, despite what people might say, Hearth was never fully stable. Sol shakes his head. Cybele liked to talk it up, but after they pulled out After they pulled out and Solheim left, our people discovered that they'd have to keep the systems running themselves, or the place would soon end up as dry as steppe. Half was good as long as the evaporators kept running, kept filling our skies with clouds. Even after the collapse, our people kept those things going, turning that subsurface ocean into a periwinkle blue sky. Sol smiles. Flux ended that day, and when they failed, the rains failed, and the harvest with it. Sol pauses. And soon you have a city without a way to feed itself. Sol shudders. That's when we, some of us, made the decision to set out on this place. He gestures at the pilgrim seed, and look for another future. Sol shifts on the crate. Anything else you wanted to ask? Yeah, I'm going to ask about the flux. Sol sighs. That's what I imagined. He scratches at his beard. Can't say I'm an expert, but I can tell you what we witnessed on half. At first we ignored it. A few farms had their automation systems blink out, lifter suits locked up, bots reset their schedules, nothing we hadn't seen before. But then the news came out of Passero that they'd been hit harder. The local network had gone down and no one could get it back up. It was rough for a while, but out in the farmland we were used to that. Passero? Capital of half. Tens of thousands of souls made it their own. Sol grimaces. Anyway, we thought the flux was a freak event until the day they got the network running again. That's when the cascade happened. System after system corrupted, data lost, and then another flux hit, and another. The bots were running circles in the fields. People had to be cut out of lifter suits like mine. And the city, I never saw it, but I heard from the others. Sol shivers. It only got worse from there. We couldn't seem to fight it. Cut us right open. That's what I know about the flux. Some folks say it came from the inner systems, that it might be connected to some old tech there or something, but I never heard anything more than rumours. Sol scratches their beard. Sorry I don't have better news. Sol shifts on the crate. Anything else you wanted to ask? I'm good for now. You sure? Yes, I'm sure. Sol stands flexing against the suit. He takes his cane in his hand. Keep it up, sleeper. He smiles as he leaves. You're making me think I need to start making new plans for this place. With that, Sol leaves, and you wonder what he means. As he creaks away down the corridor, you can't help but feel there's more to him than it seems. Yes, he's a bit cagey. Okay. So the climbing briar, that's with Peak. And then this one I need to finish off. And then this one is there's some big work to do on preservation of this one. So we've got this ship sorted. I feel like when the flux comes, if it's not sorted, I'm in a bit of trouble. So let's get some food. I've got 102 money. I can steal the harvest if I desperately need energy, but I don't really want to do that. It feels a bit out of character with how I've been playing the game, you know. So let's take a sleep at Briar Base Camp. Hope my stray cat's alright. I haven't fed it in a while. Haven't fed it in like a few weeks. Alright, so I've got 4 dice. Let's get out and spend some of them. Oh, he's got stuff to say. The Pilgrim Seed. Step, Song and Hearth. Oh, this is just counting up. So stability in the flotilla means relieving the pressure on the refugees from all 3 moons of Ember. Oh, okay, so right. So that is helping the other ships. So let's help the docking access. Got a +1, so let's use a 5 here. Guarantee an outcome. Oh no, actually. Let's use a 4. Because even a +1 will get me the result I need. Okay. There is a loose crowd around the supplies you've unloaded, and a tense mood brewing among them. You sit nearby on the edge of the shuttle's docking tunnel, resting. Further away, crews from Ember's Song continue their lives as usual, coming and going, trading, discussing. There is a quiet efficiency to the hub, set up as a common space for the swarm of small ships from Ember's Song that are part of the flotilla. Unlike Hearth or Steppe, there is no one capital ship for this moon's refugees, just a mass of individuals travelling in concert. "We told Hearth we didn't want their scraps," the jeering voice comes out of the small crowd nearby. Peter. You turn to see a gaunt, pale man wearing the industrial work gear you have seen many of the Song refugees wearing. I'm going to change that voice that I just used. I'm going to go with kind of the Central Steppes kind of thing, like Siberian, maybe a Russian thing. Let's see if I can find it. Peter. You hear me? That's more like Eastern European, but I'll get there. I'll work it out. So this is a very grey man. Looks like he's got some augmentations. He's wearing a grey flight suit with various accoutrements attached to it, lots of wires and stuff. His visible hand with a glove off has got lots of almost like an IV drip going into it, and then a tattoo on the back of the hand. He's a steely Ember's Song refugee. You hear me? I say these supplies are here to these supplies are to help. He smirks. Oh, how noble of you, coming out here to help us singers. There's a rumble of anger around the crowd. We agreed to join the flotilla for joint protection. We did not agree to Ember's Hearth using the flotilla to secure their control of the moons. You realise that Peter is addressing the crowd as much as he is addressing you. With the cordon down, our crews are more than able to acquire what is needed from the Eye, what is owed as a restitution for keeping us restrained. He pats one of the crates you unloaded. What we need, we will take. I have no stake in this. I kind of don't. But I'm going to say Sol wants to cooperate, because I have agreed to help. Sol is a farmer. Even the people of Song know that he was simply the sole survivor of Hearth's leadership. His authority means nothing. Peter looks around the crowd. Hearth think they can buy us, but we remember the past. A rumble of agreement runs through the crowd. He smiles at them. Take the supplies if you wish, of course. We are not wasteful. Peter approaches you directly. The crowd tentatively moves forward, and by the time he reaches you, they are already dragging away crates and distributing the contents. I'm not one for shooting the messenger, sleeper, says Peter as he approaches. Is it Peter or Peter? Peter. I'm going to say Peter. But we cannot concede to Hearth here, not for a moment. I'm going to say I don't understand. I can see that. Peter sits beside you on the docking tunnel's lip. What was your plan, sleeper? Unload the supplies and wait for someone to start throwing them back at you? He nods at the crowd, rifling through the crates, because that's not what was about to happen. So I should thank you? ? Peter bows a little. My pleasure. What do you think happened to the crew of this shuttle? He shakes his head. They were chased out of this place. What is happening here? We are maintaining our independence. He smiles. Do you know anything about Ember's Moon's sleeper, or were you planning to wander into this flotilla totally blind? An objective outsider offering help. He rolls his eyes. I know a little. No, educate me. Educate me then. He smiles. It would be my pleasure. I'm going to assume you know the basics. The gas giant Ember has 7 moons. The 3 biggest are Ember's Steppe, Ember's Song, and Ember's Heart. Is it Ember's Heart or Hearth? He winks. We can cover the 4 sisters next session. Steppe was the first to be settled. A contract old Solheim gave the terraformers Sibel Systemis when they first claimed the Helion system. That was way back when. Steppe was a testing ground, and like most testing grounds it didn't turn out too well. A partial atmosphere slowly sloughing off into orbit, a dysfunctional ecosystem, and a whole load of dust-clogged settlers. The place is a miserable desert long past its best before date. So Sibel moved to Hearth, where they redoubled their efforts. The subsurface ocean and some balmy tidal heating helped, allowing them to build a real atmosphere, a real habitable world. A fact that typical Hearth colonists won't ever let you forget. How did Sibel achieve such a thing, you might wonder? Well, that's where we come in. It's that same old rule of surrogacy, the one humanity built our universe around. Peter claps a hand to his chest in mock pride. My moon, Ember's Song, is a sulfur-soaked rock covered in volcanoes, tidally heated by its inner orbit to sweltering temperatures, exactly the kind of crucible you need to fuel a terraforming project. Energy, industry, fuel. Song provided the raw materials for hearth, Peter grimaces, willingly or not. And the crucible requires people to run it. Us singers, born into a flaming pit and asked to stoke it so that others might live in a paradise in the making. That's what we had to endure until Solheim brought everything down. Peter rattles off his speech from memory, and you wonder how many times he's delivered it. No Solheim, no contract. No contract, no Sibel. And no Sibel meant 3 moons suddenly independent. Peter shakes his head. It was a war, Sleeper. Sometimes hot, sometimes cold, and unsurprisingly, Hearth and Steppe came out of it better than us. Yet, Peter holds up a hand, they need us, Sleeper. Always have. And so we are the linchpin. We are the center around which the moons orbit, not swirling ember. We've resisted takeovers, sieges and expansions, and now we'll resist this. Half the people on these ships think the flux was caused by Hearth, intentionally or otherwise, and I have to say, some cycles, I agree. So before you come here to hand out supplies like a good soldier, maybe educate yourself. But you abandoned Song. Peter bristles. I want you to imagine what it is like to try and live on an airless volcanic rock when every system that sustains you starts shutting down. He spits and wipes the sleeve across his mouth. We abandoned nothing. Some stayed, others left, but we will reclaim Ember as soon as the flux fades or ends. We've weathered worse. Don't you need the supplies? As I said, we will take what we need when we need it. Peter stares out at the axis. There's no authority that we can recognize here. I won't keep you from the docking axis, Sleeper. No one here has the authority for that. But watch yourself here. Try to remember that the Eye is just another in the long list of people who have tried to control us. He's too stubborn. He's very guarded. I'm going to tell him that. Stubbornness, I have found, is a quality in these times. Peter sighs. Look, we are many, and we have many needs. Ships come to this docking axis for repairs, for requisitions, for friendship. You can provide these as well as any singer. If you want to help, help in your own name, Sleeper, not in that of the Hearth. Peter shakes his head. Carry that name here, and you will lose all trust. Be as we are. Act in your own name alone. Peter puts a hand on your shoulder and stands. I hope I didn't just waste my time here, Sleeper. And with that he walks away, back to the shrinking crowd that is distributing the last of the supplies amongst the crews present. You watch them pass the food and water between them. No signs of conflict between the crews, just a careful distribution of resources. Peter chats with a few crews, each of them casting looks in your direction, ones that reveal little about the singer's intentions. You stand. It seems the tensions on the flotilla run much deeper than you expected. This won't be easy. No, it sounds like it won't be easy. So, ship mind replacement. I knew it. Ha! Cracking. Alright. So, let's give them that straight away. One of the Singer crews is looking for a ship mind to replace their flux. Oh, you supplied the ship mind, but in a way it seems to only make the crew more suspicious of you. I need to give them 3 spores. I'm inclined to go and do that now, to be honest. Just go get those spores. Because I need some for myself, so if I can get, like, enough... where's the thing? Here we go. Collect spores. Cool. I think they needed 3. I can go back and check. Before I plant any of my own, I'll go and check. I'm keen to get these people on side because they seem pretty abrasive. Be nice to mollify them. Here we go. 3. Boink. Fantastic. And I've got a 6er left that I can play with. I might wait until I've got a lower dice to go get the rest of my own spores, because I think I only need 1 more. As you cross the axis, looking for a shuttle to take you back to the ruined cordon, you spot Peter, standing at the edge of the central hub. Something about the way he's leaning against the rail, looking down across the axis and towards the blinking light of the flotilla beyond, makes you pause. He is completely still, his head drooping low and his shoulders hunched high. I'm definitely going to approach him. You lean on the railing a little way from Peter, leaving a gap between you. This close, you can see the blank stare in his eyes, the way his hands hang limply in front of him. He takes a minute to notice you. Sleeper? He inhales sharply. Still hanging around? Trying to be useful. Peter smiles a tight smile, but doesn't turn to face you. That a sleeper thing? Needing to be useful? It's a me thing. It would make sense. Peter closes his eyes. Tools need to be used. Oh, he's so racist against sleepers. Oh my god. What's with you? Shut up. Yeah, shut up. Peter stands back from the railing. Who invited you, sleeper? Who said you could come here? You think because the Harthers decided to name you their errand boy, we have to put up with you? I just gave you a shit mine, man. They're worth like 300 cryo. We don't want you here. We don't need you. His eyes burn with rage. Go home, you stupid machine! A second after he shouts that final line, he collapses in on himself, staying upright, but all the energy going out of his body. He slumps back against the railing, his eyes closed once more. You wait. After a while he speaks. I'm tired, sleeper. Tired of everything. I'm tired of the empty paternalism of the hearth. I'm tired of the paranoid whining of the crews. I'm tired of endless cycles that look the same, smell the same, feel the same. Tired of running, of hiding, of fixing every shitty thing that breaks out here. His shout echoes a little in the hub, but few stop to look. He looks down at his feet. Don't take it out on me. Peter doesn't react. He stands. I'm going to go. He looks at you and sniffs. Get some sleep. I'm going to stay silent, I think, because these are both a bit weird. Peter turns away. He raises a hand and drifts away towards the centre of the hub. You turn back to the railing, not wanting to watch him go. Seeing him like this, you prefer not to stare. The traffic of the Axis rumbles on as you watch, under an endlessly shining sun. The same air recycled through all of these lungs, the same dust gathering speck by speck on the windows. You take a sharp breath, stand straight and get moving, before the inertia of it all gets to you too. Interesting, so what do we need to do next? Axis assistance. The more work you do for the singers, the more you get to know the crews, the more they'll trust you. So I've got the Axis job board. The Axis houses an overflowing job board of engineering tasks requested by the crews. You can help out here. And crew socialising. The Axis is as much a social hub as it is a supply hub. Keeping good relations with the crews will help them trust you. Oh, that's cool. I might just go take a look at those spores and get growing myself some more stabiliser. Because it's a bit of a process to get the stabiliser now. Let's pop the one spore I have in, and yeah, I have to go get some more. I think I'm going to use, when I get like a low dice, I'll come back. Let's do this data thing here though. Where is it? Because I've got a 6 here. Fluxed node. Pop that in. Bypass, extract data. Now this may have been a mistake because I may have initiated like another flux event. So I've got it. I don't necessarily need to use it right now. I think I might hold back. Let's take a stabilizer. Cool. And then end cycle. Alright, nice spread of dice there. So I can invest a bit more time in this one, or I can do some work for the dust houses. This needs 12, but I can get a lot here. So let's do these ones. I can really kind of fast forward. Let's do a reroll here. Nice. And then I need, I could potentially get a 3er here, and what I'm going to do though is I'm going to actually go and get some food first, and then if I lose energy, it won't be too much of a problem. So where's the food place? Here it is. Because what I don't want to do is lose a bunch of energy, go down into starving, and then I'll lose some condition. So let's eat first. Cool. And then let's use this risky... Oh, yeah, I think I need to eat 2 times, actually. So I'm starting to run out of money, actually. Cool. I have got data that I can sell to get more money, though. Not much, but I have got some. So let's take a risk on this one. Hopefully we'll get the positive result and we'll get all 3. Yes, get it in. Well played. So we'll talk to Aki. You and Aki stand side by side at the viewing window in silence. The dust swirls and you glimpse the twisted root systems of the steppe silk through the ochre haze. After all these cycles you feel a strange connection to a world on which you have never set foot. Aki shifts from foot to foot. She seems restless, eager to speak, but unsure what to say. I'm going to say the dust houses look good. Aki smiles at you warmly. They do. She pauses and turns back to the window. What is the value of all this, she asks suddenly, of preserving a world we have left behind? The value is... yeah, it's like conservation, I think, would be... I've got history, heritage, or conservation. History and heritage are very similar. I like conservation. Aki is silent for a moment. These creatures should be protected, yes, but for us, their conservation is conditional. We keep them alive because we need to use them. I can't pretend we are conservators when we harvest as much as we are able. Then it's about survival, isn't it? Aki paces away, lost in thought. I'm grateful to you for helping protect the dust houses, for ensuring their slide into decay is delayed, even averted, but now I find myself at an impasse. The stability of the dust houses changes things. It makes me aware of how blinkered we have been. Aki stops to look at you, her posture somehow different. If the ecosystems of steppe, if its people cannot grow to meet the future, why preserve it? She frowns. Are we just slaves to the preservation of what came before? Not slaves, inheritors. Aki nods, but the weight of this inheritance is heavy. Aki comes close, holds your hands in hers. We must change. We must change to live. She smiles. I have seen that in you. The steppe, these people, this ship, should serve more than heritage, than history. They should serve the future. She takes a breath. There are those in the flotilla that need clothes, that need food, that can benefit from the gifts of the steppe's ecosystem. I want you to invite them. Can you do that for me? How? I know that Sol sent you, she smiles. You can tell him Aki, captain of the wind's long shadow, invites all the people of the flotilla to come. You're the captain? I thought she might be. She smiles. You never asked. Aki steps away. You want to know about flux? You want to know about the flux, no? About its purposes, its origins? She smiles. You wish to protect your home as we could not. I'm afraid I don't have much to tell you. It's an exotic wave of sorts. An energy that passes through matter. It shifts the very charged particles which run through our electrical systems. It is possible to shield against it, as you would radiation, as we have done with the dust houses, but only while it is weak. The flux event here was much like the first ones we felt on Ember's steppe, localized, destructive but bearable. But in time its strength grew. I don't know if it will be the same here, but... She pauses. It is coming from the center of the system, from the close orbit of Helion's star, H1. That is all we could uncover. She is silent for a moment, unsure of what to add. So there is a ship that comes to the eye across what's called the Helion crossing, so maybe I can get on that ship and go and investigate. I'm sorry I cannot offer more, but you're always welcome on this ship. She smiles. I hope I will see you when the others come. She squeezes both your hands. I hope this ship, these dust houses, can be more than a museum. I hope they can be a home. With this she turns and leaves, and you feel that word, home, resonating within you like a struck bell. Alright, cool. So let's go and get some more. Let's use this wanna and get some more spores. Because I can afford to lose a bit of energy, that's fine. Yeah, cool. Okay, and then let's go plant these spores, and then that's kind of on the way to our next stabilizer. If we get the club head caps from it. It would be nice to just be able to buy it. But then I suppose you've got to spend dice to get to work to get money to then buy it, so it's not too dissimilar from growing it yourself. It'd be good if we could make it from Girol caps too. Now, we're fully fed, we're on good condition, so let's go and have a sleep here. So glad I stored those ship mine fragments and made that ship mind. I just knew that was going to be a real pain if I didn't have it in advance. Cool, so we've got 5 dice, medium spread. Let's go and use some of those up on the docking axis here. So what gets me the most? Axis assistance. But I'm more likely to win this one. Okay. Well, this is a long-term job, so why don't we spend these ones. I just got a wanna, okay. Might as well just get 100% without the risk in that case, if I'm just going to get oneers from that. Let's do the reroll on this lot. Exactly the same results. I'm holding off giving Peak the data. I've just got a feeling that might trigger something to do with the wave. I'm not quite ready for that yet. Let's try this one. 25% negative chance. Oh, I lost money? Oh. You get persuaded into a traditional song dice game and you end up losing a stack of chits. You can hear the crews laughing. Oh well, that's fine. As long as I handle it well. So let's go sleep again. We should get another 5 dice from this. Yep, cool. Oh, and it's a good spread as well. Nice, nicey. This is a real slog, this one. So let's just double down on it. So that's a guaranteed. This one's a guaranteed. I could probably go and do some work and get some money, which might be before I complete this. Might be a good touch, but I'm too impatient. I'm just gonna go for it. Come on, why not? Yeah. Sleeper. Peter calls to you as you cross the axis. He's standing by the same railing as you saw him at last time, and he beckons you over. He owes us an apology, this guy. He's very rude. I've been hearing things. He gives you a sidelong look. Good things or bad things? I gotta say good things. Peter smiles. Mostly. He rubs his hands together nervously. You wait for him to speak. You know, on song, I was a teacher. He glances at you, anticipating a response. Really? Peter sighs. Don't sound so surprised. Mechanical engineering. It's an essential subject on a moon where a single mechanical failure could mean the deaths of hundreds. He looks at the ground. The heat, the atmosphere, the radiation, all of it is hostile to us. My students knew this. Their work, their training was respected. As long as they were careful and respected song themselves, they could have their choice of colony placements. They were always in demand. That meant I was respected, surrounded by friends and colleagues, always able to call in favors and repay them like for like. He frowns. Song colonies are small, close-knit. We look after our own. When the flux events started hitting, colonies went dark overnight. We all knew what these kinds of failures meant. Like always, we lost more people than any of the other moons. He balls his hands into tight fists. Not a single one of my students left song. Our future was cut off, just like that. My future. He flexes his hands. What am I out here? What use am I? Song is a fading memory, and the systems we built there are useless outside its orbit. I feels like these guys need some flipping counselling, honestly. How am I supposed to move on from here? He looks at you, eyes steely grey and glinting. If I've learnt anything, it's like, as long as you survived, no time was wasted. That's kind of how I like to look at life. He should broaden his horizons a little bit. Find someone to teach. Peter pauses, thinking. You don't give up, do you, sleeper? You just keep going. Peter shakes his head. You remind me of a student of mine, one who entered the program for one of the smaller colonies. They didn't have the advantages of some of the others, but they were stubborn. Stubborn as hell. By the end of the program, they were the most skilled of their peers. They didn't get the best assignment, maybe because they didn't spend much time making the kind of connections that would help you get there. But that didn't matter, because I knew they would make the best of anything they set themselves to. Peter is smiling now, buoyed up by a little by memory. Singers are stubborn, sleeper. We aren't going to change easily. We won't forgive easily or take help easily, but we'll hold strong. You can count on us for that. Peter stands from the railing. When you see Sol again, you can tell him that. You can tell him how the crews of Ember's song operate. Tell him we will resist. If that means resisting Hearth's imperialist ambitions, so be it. But if it means resisting the flux, so be it. And if it means to, as you have, help others resist those same pressures, so be it. Peter smiles. And then tell him to leave us alone. He turns, his step lighter, and heads off towards the centre of the Axis' hub. Cool beans, right, so we fulfilled all 3 of the obligations to the flotilla. Let's go talk to Sol. When you arrive at the bridge of the Pilgrim Seed, Sol is waiting for you. You wouldn't believe the messages that have come through in the past few cycles, sleeper, he smiles. The ship from Steppe has sent a goodwill gesture, a whole cache of supplies from their own farms. He smiles. I'm not sure how we'll use them, but the gesture is a welcome one. Song, meanwhile, are apparently accepting supplies again, although a little reticently, if I may say so. Sol smiles. I don't expect them to change anytime soon, it should be said. And what I'm wondering, sleeper, is what part you had in all of this. Sol eyes you, waiting for an answer. I helped where I could. I've come to expect that of you, sleeper. He smiles. You look at Sol, his eyes bright and eager, and wonder what he sees in you. Are you a tool to be used or an ally? It can be hard to tell. I want to show you something. Sol squeezes your shoulder, turning you to face the lift. He leads you along the axis of the ship, towards the engines, a clanking of his suit accompanied by the constant hammering and welding that fills the echoey bulkheads of the Pilgrim Seed at all hours. With the cordon lifted and shuttles able to go out to salvage scrap and barter for supplies, the ship has become a place of transformation, moving towards some state yet to be revealed to you. You look at Sol. What is his plan here? What is he preparing the Pilgrim Seed for? Or are his sharp eyes simply focused on making it through the next cycle? Suddenly Sol stops in front of a huge bulkhead door, like the seal on the front of a dry dock hangar. He signals to someone in a cabin high up, attached to the wall, and they begin the process of opening it up. The Pilgrim Seed was built as a short-range freight carrier, you know? The amber warning lights on the bulkhead door send spinning shadows across Sol's face. We built it to ship the entire harvest from thousands of farms to the silos at Passeray. When we realised we'd need to leave, it was the biggest ship we could muster. Sol raps on a metal plate, and somehow she's carried us all the way out here. We? Farmers mostly, from outside the city and the edges. He flexes his shoulder beneath his suit. We saw it coming first, I guess, knew it was time. Others didn't want to believe. I was a farmer, had a whole load of land and people to run it, and my people helped convert this place for the long trip. He looks at his feet. Others led, organised the evacuation, and debated the plan. What happened? Not one of those folks made it. Sol rubs his forehead. We were out in the black a long time before we got here, sleeper. Things happen. The upshot is I was chosen to take over. I guess my crew trusted me and I knew the ship. I argued, reminded them that I'm no leader and that I'm sick. But, well, when service chooses you... A loud klaxon sounds indicating the bulkhead doors are ready to open. They groan as they slide back, the metal squeals echoing through the vast ship, bouncing off its hard-plated walls. At first all you see is darkness, then the lights go on in huge strips that stretch back, and back as far as you can see. The space in front of you, a vast bay, bigger than any of you ever seen, is empty. When we left half, we didn't have the time or resources to convert the entire ship. Sol begins leading you into the massive space. So much of the freight space was sealed away, shut down. But now we have time, we have resources, we stabilised here, at least for the moment. Sol turns to you. Now is the time we make use of all this. What are you planning? What do you think happens next for the Eye, Sleeper? Sol sighs. The flux has already hit one part of the station, and from what I know it'll hit again. On Hearth, we lost everything. There isn't much time, Sleeper, but there is enough time to do something. Think of the number of people we can fit on here. The farming stacks, the housing, hell, we can plant some of those mushrooms you love so much. This is the way forward, the only way. We need to fill this ship with able bodies and head for the starward belt. Oh, I don't want to leave, but I'm going to say I thought the Eye was your destination. It was until the flux hit here. Now it's just another stop. I'm glad of the chance to resupply and salvage, but we need to go further out. I want you to help me. You know the Eye, you have connections, and you can work hard, I've seen it. Sol meets your eye. I know you're like me, Sleeper. You didn't choose service, but it chose you. Can this work? It has to, Sleeper. There's nothing else. I know it's a lot to think about, Sleeper. Trust me. Sol begins to lead you back out of the bay. But think of what we can do here. The flotilla can't last forever. We need more than just farmers to make this work. We need to build a new world for ourselves. I've heard that out there in the belt there are people who've been setting up since the collapse, making something of their own. That's our future, tucked away in those rocks, far from all of this. Sol sighs. I didn't bring my people here just to let them die somewhere new. Sol crosses back over the threshold of the bay and signals for the operator to close it up. The door groans and Sol waits for it to stop. Think about it, Sleeper. Sol claps an arm on your back, but don't wait too long. This is happening. Soon. And he leaves you there, in the silence of this vast bay, your head spinning with the thought of leaving the Eye. Yay, drive completed, upgrade point. Let's go for +2 on... What might come in useful? Instant Karma. Intuit, Endure. I think I've got Interface already. I'm going to go with Engineer. I feel like Engineer ones tend to come up quite a bit. I've got a dice left. So let's go... Might try and get some money actually. That just gives me energy. Alright, let's just do that and get some energy. Cool beans, and then let's go give that data to Peak that we've got. Deliver flux data, here it is. Don't know why that happened, there we go. Start action. Oh, this is exciting. Peak receives the data on their slate and begins decoding it immediately. Sleeper, come look at this. Peak is poring over one of the displays of the makeshift decoding suite they've set up in the Climbing Briar's cargo bay. On the screen, a clump of data pathways, like an ingrown root ball, has started to untangle. This is an existing node, corrupted by the flux event. It's totally twisted up. They glance at you to check you're listening. But inside, you watch as the unwinding pathways leave behind patterns of negative spaces, like shadows staying behind their caster, leaving... is a whole other data set. Peak's eyes shine bright in the pale screen light. The flux event somehow seeds this data deep into the gaps in the node, wrapping them round it. What's in there? Not sure, Peak frowns. It isn't being very cooperative. You watch the screen, the patterns of shadows becoming obvious now as each layer of pathways is pulled away. The flux event itself really did a number on unprotected nodes like this one. Most of the Eye's systems are screened against radiation and interference, but those exposed nodes? Peak makes a ripping motion with her hands. Torn apart. Peak points to a thick tangle of threads on the screen. Look, Here it looks like it's been tangled purposefully, but it's actually that all the points within the node have been randomly rearranged. It's as if the node was a bag of ball bearings and the flux shook them. The pathways tried to account for the rearrangement once the system came back on, hence the tangle. Peak pauses as the node continues to unwind. Although, Peak muses, it was less like shaking a bag of ball bearings and more like making them all simultaneously occupy a superposition of every possible position in the bag before locking them back into a new configuration. They smile sheepishly, but that's a technicality. I'm going to say, so what is the flux? We know it's a wave, one with exotic effects, that's all. Peak runs a hand through their hair. The question is not so much what the flux is, but what's causing it? Where's it coming from? Peak turns away from the screen, meeting your eye. And there's something else. They pause. Have you spoken with the refugees? Yes, I have. Peak lowers their voice instinctively. What they're reporting, massive systems failures, cascading collapses of life support, of terraforming systems, total data corruption. Peak swallows. The flux shouldn't do that. It can fundamentally rearrange the structure of systems, especially those poorly shielded, but totally collapsing heavy-duty industrial systems, fail-safes and all, it doesn't make sense. Those kinds of systems are built for deep space, for solar flares and radiation. The flux might penetrate them, but any reconfiguration should have been repairable. Peak looks back at the screen, where the decoding node lies almost fully open. A shadow pattern of the negative spaces that existed within its scrambled interior darkens the screen, like a set of bruises showing the pattern of the object that made them. I need to look into something. I have an idea what might be causing this wave, triggering the flux, but I need time to research it. Can I help? Peak shakes their head. I'm sorry, Sleeper, but I want to keep this to myself for now. If you need something to do, the Flotilla could surely do with the help. From what I heard from Esh, things are tense there. Where is Esh? Peak glances around the bay. Must be out. I've been focusing on this, so I can't say I've noticed. Although the quiet is nice. They smile. Give me some time, Sleeper. Peak turns back to their console. I'll have some answers soon enough, I hope. You take one last glance at the uncoiling node as you leave, the dark shapes it leaves behind somehow troubling. You try to shake them from your mind. There are things to be done elsewhere. Okay, so we've got a timer of 6 cycles, which is actually great, because we would have had to have done all the ship stuff during that time, but I've already done it. So what I'm going to do is spend a bit of time gathering resources, which I think is a very valuable use of my time. Let's go sell some Yatagan data first of all. Let's head back on over to the RIM section. I think it might be good to go work for Moritz. Let's get up there. Go to sleep. Cool. So we've now got 4 dice, which is not ideal, but it's fine. What's going on with the side reel dock here? Scout the dock. Oh, this is still available to me, actually. Let's go to Bliss's Bay and get some cash money. Nice. I've got a random scrap item as well. Cool. Reroll this one. It came up as a 1 again. What's the negative outcome? It's just less money. That's fine. Let's just spend that. Cool. That's boosted my cash a little bit. I can do a scrap repair, but I'm going to save it and wait till after I've used the stabilizer. So I'm happy with that amount of money. Let's descend to the rim. Cook Girol caps. Get some energy going. Cool. And then let's take a look here actually, see if I can buy some scrap. Yeah. I'm going to spend everything I can on scrap because it's super useful just to keep your condition bumped up. Nice. So I've got 4 bits of scrap. And what I'll do is I'll wait until the next time I use a stabilizer, and I'll just use it to just keep my condition at full. And then there's another ship coming in tomorrow, which is great. So let's sleep here. Oh, actually, wait. I'm going to go sell some Yatagan data, which I've not done in a long time. I'm going to keep hold of 2 of each. I suspect the game doesn't really want them anymore, but you just never know. And I'm also going to hang on to my ship mine fragments, even though I've got 4. I've got 5 even. I just like... You just never know when the game's going to ask you for a ship mine, so... Let's sleep in the old shipping container. Cool. Merchant freighter. Buy a ship mine fragment. Oh, okay, so this is just buying ship mine fragments. Well, a full ship mine goes for pretty good, so it's going to be worth my while spending this money buying them. And then I'm going to go fabricate a ship mine and then probably sell one, because I can't see myself needing 2. Here's the fabricator. Fabricate ship mine. Nice. And then where do I sell the ship mines again? Exchange. That's components. Freight. Steal a shipment. No. I know there's a place to sell a ship mine. There we go. I get 150 cryo for it. Which is nice. So let's go up and work for Moritz, get some more money. Put these in here. It's quite nice, just kind of like, oh, I'm killing some time, I'm killing a week. And actually, might need to thinking about it. Just go check on the state of my mushrooms. So I might need to harvest those. I had forgotten about those. And because I've got these 2 6s, that's going to be good. Right, yeah, perfect. Let's grab a couple of those. Maybe I should have invested my upgrade point in this one. No club heads, though. That is a shame. Come on, club heads, club heads, club heads, club heads. Yeah, I've got 1. Okay, let's re-roll this. 4. Alright, cross fingers, club head, club head, club head, club head. Yay! Sweet! Okay, so let's synthesize another stabilizer. Start action. Right, is there actually anything I can do over here? Probably just work to get scrap or something. No, I have done all the ship stuff, so he's 2 days down. So let's sleep here, and I'm going to go pick up some scrap, I think. I can use those Matsutake caps to boost my energy up. I'm actually going to allow my condition to deteriorate really far, and the reason for that is then I can maximise just using like 1 stabilizer for when whatever's happening with peak kicks off, you know. So let's get a bit of scrap. Bit more scrap. What I may do is take this 4 and go and get some spores. Because I don't want to lose some condition just from taking on a risky thing. So let's get some more spores. Nice. Fabulous. And let's go and input those spores straight away. Cracking. Alright, now we need to, I think, cook some mushrooms, just to get our tummies full. It's funny when you get into this, because the dialogue options stop, you do start to sort of feel a bit isolated in comparison to the main game. So like killing a few days is kind of a weird process. So let's end cycle there. Excellent. And then we'll go and just quickly cook up another Matsutake caps. I could export some Matsutake for more money, but honestly I'm just not too fussed. So let's get I feel like 200 and enough to make another ship mind kind of in the bank is more than enough. And I've got a little bit of data I can sell as well. So let's get some more spores. Fantastic. And then let's plant those. Fabulous stuff. Right, so that's my next set of rare mushrooms on the way. And I think I'll just go get some more scrap, you know. Let's re-roll this lot, see what we get. So I think I'm not wanting to use that 2 here, because I don't really want to lose a bunch of condition for no reason. I'll use the 3 though. I'm willing to take that risk. Yeah. Let me see, what does this bring up? Oh no, that's not too bad because it's a 3. Yeah, let's try it. Let's try it and see what happens. I lost some energy, that's fine. I'm not worried about that. Excellent, so let's sleep on the Briar thingamajig. Now I could go and do the Sidereal Horizon stuff, but I just don't want to fly away on that ship. Alright. So I suppose this is the Citizen Sleeper equivalent of just grinding, you know, really. Let's go back over and cook some stuff. Now I might get the chance to actually synthesize another stabilizer, which would be pretty good. Oh, I think is this a new scrap freighter in? Oh no, it's the same one. Right, fine. Not a problem. All right, let's go get some more scrap. This is the eye of the storm, really. We don't know what's coming next. Cool, I think we'll re-roll these lowies, see what we get. Nice. That's 10 bits of scrap I've got, which is absolutely fantastic. Oh, I'm starving. Alright, I lost some condition there because I was starving, but alright, let's go check how many days peak needs now. 1 more. Right, so what we do tonight will kind of set us up for the next day. So I'm going to get back down to the restaurant, cook some matsutake. Actually, what's how many do I get? Barter for food. Let's eat this one. And then I actually get better value for money from Emphis, so I should have just gone to him. I think I get 3 energy for 12 cryo. Right. Look at the Matsutake caps. Fabulous. And then before we go to sleep this time, we're going to take a stabiliser. Let's get back over to the Greenway. Go sleep at Briar Base Camp. Oh, there it is, stabiliser. Let's go take on what Peak's got to offer us. Hope it sends us down a kind of a rabbit hole of data stuff. I like the data stuff in this. It's very compelling. Right, here he is. Have you ever heard of KAN channels, Sleeper? Peak asks as soon as you enter the bay, as if you were in the middle of a conversation. There are heavy circles under their eyes, and you aren't sure if they've moved since you last visited. The console they're working at seems to have grown too, shadowing their slight frame in a wealth of screens and wires. I don't know. I personally don't know what that means either. Peak turns to face you. Kayamani's active negation, the name of the effect used to transport trillions of tons of materials from the surrogate systems to the core. You might have heard of it in your physics classes. At XPR they hammered the principles of it into us as kids. KAN. Peak recites a definition as if in the classroom. A process of collapsing spatial causality along the Euclidean distance between 2 points by negating mass simultaneously at both ends of a geodesic curve. Essentially, KAN channels allow for the near instantaneous transport of raw materials between systems. They require huge volumes of energy, of course, and decades of construction, but once a KAN channel is established, it opens up a system for infinite exploitation. The backbone of surrogacy is what XPR called them. Peak shakes their head. They may not be able to send anything more complex than a rock through them. Complex machines and people are, shall we say, reconfigured by the process. But for raw, molecularly pure materials, Peak flicks a hand. Whoosh. Isn't everything molecularly pure? This is your research? Peak pauses. What I was trying to find out was whether the Helion system, this system, ever had a KAN channel. KAN channels are vastly expensive to build, to run. Not every surrogate system has one. Many use fraction drive ships to transport their materials to the nearest hub. But Solheim, Peak smiles, Solheim spared no expense when they established this system. There's a KAN channel? Yep. Peak's eyes light up. They shut it down before the collapse. They couldn't run the sender-receiver station anymore, but it was there. It still is, as far as I can tell, closely orbiting our star. In fact, Peak grins, they've been building to this. I'm sure it's still there, because one of the issues with KAN channels are the massive waves of exotic energy they can produce while cycling up. The flux. Exactly. Peak's face suddenly drops. Someone is starting up the channel. Who? Peak sucks in a breath. That I don't know. They start counting off information on their fingers. They'd need a lot of resources to do it, and they'd need to have people from the core systems. But there's no real large-scale extraction in the Helion system anymore, so why would you go to the trouble? Just to trigger the flux? Maybe it's Solheim? Just to trigger the flux. Peak rubs their red eyes. The flux, the wave the KAN effect produce, is a side effect, a problematic one, but it isn't a destructive force. If it was, the core systems would have never been able to use it. So then why are colonies collapsing because of it? Why is it chewing through systems, the kind of industrial systems set up to function within the range of a once active KAN channel? Peak is getting frustrated. The moons of Ember have been terraforming since before the collapse. They would have had to deal with the flux. Yet everything we've heard from the refugees says it brought down every system they had. Peak falls quiet, thinking it all through. Your mind drifts too, thinking of the KAN channels, those vast acausal highways that prop up the core systems and their endless appetite for resources. This system has been quiet for decades. Solheim collapsed. Most corporations gave up their claims, and apart from the Celis ships that came to begin work on the Sidereal horizon, no one from the core has come here in all that time. You shiver as you imagine the attention of the core, the systems of logic, the exploitation that created you, created your suffering, turned towards the Helion system. A floodlight turned to this dark corner. A shrill bleep catches both of your attention, and Peak rushes to a screen, one showing a crude map of the station. On it, individual markers begin to flare up with insistent chirps. Peak looks puzzled for a moment, and then their face drops. No, no, no. They lean in close. This doesn't make any sense. What's happening? The flux nodes are appearing elsewhere on the station. Peak pulls at their hair. I set this system to alert me to other flux nodes near the epicenter of the flux event, but these are everywhere. The hub, the low end, the shipyard. How can this happen? The only reason we saw flux nodes here is because it's the most run-down part of the station. They were barely shielded, but others appearing so far after the event? Peak turns to you. You're going to need to get me the data from these nodes, and quickly. I'll keep looking at what I have here, but I need to know why they're popping up everywhere. Right now? Right now. We can talk more about the KAN channels and system history when you're back, but this needs our attention right now. Peak turns quickly back to the monitor, their eyes following scrolling screens of code spewing from the newly fluxed nodes. You leave quickly, but struggle to shake the image of the spotlight from your mind. You feel watched as you cross back to the Pilgrim Seed, on your way to a shuttle bay. You hurry onward, eager to outrun the fear. Whoa, okay, so we've got a drive here. Study the flux. So we're going to set that as active, and then let's go and find where these nodes are. Okay, so I don't see any on the Greenway because the Greenway's not got an internet essentially. So let's take a look. That's a Yataghan thing. Here we go, flux node. What does this need? A 4 or a 6? Let's stick the 4 in there. Bypass, extract. Lucky he caught me with a full complement of dice. Aha. And then let's scroll around a bit more. He said there was one down on the shipyard, which is like all the way down here. There we go. And I guess there's one up in the central hub as well. So bypass, extract. Cool. And then let's go. I'm going to need to go into the real world for this. Let's ascend up here. There it is, the flux node. I need to re-roll. Cool, put the 6 in. Alright, so that's 3 datas. I think that's all of it. I don't think there's anywhere else. Let's get back over there and give it to him. Fast travel? Who needs fast travel? Okay, so what's he asking for? How many? 3. 3 I have. Right. Peak loads the data into their decoding setup. I'll just be a moment. Don't leave, sleeper. I'm not leaving, don't worry. You watch as Peak works on the flux data, the nodes unfolding like flowers now, giving in to Peak's increasingly sophisticated decoding protocols. Seeing data like this as an image on a screen is an almost unrecognisable representation to you. It's nothing like swimming among nodes and threads. Despite this, Peak has proven themselves to be more than able to handle these complex data structures, even through his limited representational paradigm. The bay door hisses, interrupting your flow of thoughts. You turn to see Esh entering. Rough day? She's never happy, look. She's got a lot on her mind. She looks up and meets your eye, but doesn't respond. Esh stalks into the bay, head down. She looks tired and not in a mood to talk. How's the weapon hunt? Peak asks, without turning from their screen. Slow, unsuccessful, tedious. Esh slams a bag down on a crate and hops up to sit on it. You still unpicking balls of yarn? With the sleeper's help. Peak smiles. They brought me some good stuff this cycle. Maybe they could help you find the weapons you were smuggling. It's clear that Esh doesn't appreciate Peak's tone. Still looking? Uh-huh, Esh replies, and whoever took them better be making the most of their rapidly shortening lifespan right now. Esh, Peak cuts in without looking away from the console. We talked about this. This is my mistake, Peak, and I fix it how I want. Esh folds her arms. I know one of the factions of the Flotilla has taken them. I just need to find out. Peak holds up her hand. Shh! They lean in towards the screen. Son of a... What? They hid it in the wave of the wave. Peak is whispering to themselves. It's alive. They lean back in their chair. Esh crosses over to look at the screen. Alive? Well, it's growing. It's processing. It's quietly working away in the dark. Look. You cross over to the screen and stand beside Esh. In it you can see that Peak has all 4 nodes decoded, and the pattern of shadows from inside them sit on the screen like dark stains. Then you notice it, the movement, the thin threads cross from one stain to another. As you watch, you notice that the movement only ever happens in your peripheral vision, as if this thing, this shadow, knows it's being watched. This is how the other flux nodes appeared. Peak rubs their eyes. They weren't fluxed by the wave, they were corrupted after the fact. This thing, this shadow that entered in the wake of the wave, it corrupted them, but it made the corruption look like the result of the flux. It's a sleight of hand. Peak runs a hand through their hair. The flux wave is so massive, so complex that it opens up the systems to be attacked. As it reconfigures exposed systems, this shadow is broadcast in, implanted inside. The wave from the KAN channel, it's a brute force way of hitting every system in Helion. Once the systems are vulnerable... Peak looks pale. Their eyes reflect the screens. The flux isn't what's attacking the systems. It's the siege weapon, a Trojan horse. Then this thing takes over. Peak sits back in their chair. And it's already on the eye. Wait. Ash rubs her forehead. You're telling me there's a KAN channel in this system? Shit. Peak isn't listening. This is bad. We have to take this to someone. Peak looks desperately at you. We've got Helene or we've got Sol. Oh, interesting. Okay. I feel like Sol is like... He's the Flotilla guy, but Helene is the Havanage person, and the Eye's got more people than the Flotilla, so let's go for Helene. Is that wise? Esh cuts in. Havanage haven't exactly made good decisions lately. They are the station administrators, Esh. Peak is desperate. They need to know. The argument rages between them, and as you watch them shouting, you feel sick. I would just tell them both. After a while they stop, running out of things to say. An unsettling silence descends on the bay. I need more time, Peak says quietly. I need to look at solutions, try to build a case, collate the evidence. We mess this up. They look down at their hands. Esh goes to speak and then thinks better of it. Not a word, sleeper. Peak meets your eye. Don't tell anyone until they're ready. They sigh. With the tension among the refugees, Sol won't be ready to hear this, and Helene and Havanage are still mired in some kind of crisis. We tell Havanage, they're likely to react badly, and even with the flotilla stabilised, Sol is not going to react well to this. I need time to build a case. You're too twisted up in this, Peak, Esh says quietly. This is not our place. We don't owe... Stop, Esh. Peak slumps in their chair. Stop. You leave them like that, exhausted and troubled, and head back out into the Pilgrim Siege. When you close your eyes, you think of those shadows, that movement at the edge of your vision, something dark growing in the station like a parasite. You feel sick, your vision blurs. What comes next? You stop in a corridor and take a breath, putting a hand on a rumbling metal wall. For now, the eye keeps spinning. For now. Hey, we've got an upgrade point, which we cannot use yet. Climbing Briar. Gathering evidence. Peak is compiling their data on the flux to be presented to Sol or Helene. You get the sense they're dreading the choice. Alright, well, I'm going to go gather some more spores. Plant mushrooms. Oh. What am I doing? I can't put the spore... Just had a brain glitch then. Right. Cool, some more spores. And let's just see what we can get from this. Might lose some energy here, but that's fine. Alright, we've got 5 grove spores. That's fabulous. Alright, so let's sleep in the Commis. Excellent. Right, need to eat some food. So let's grab some food from here just quickly. Fabulous. Okay, let's spend some of this. So I might want a bit more scrap. I've got a heck of a lot of it, so I'm not too bothered about. No, let's not take a risk here. Actually, let's put the 6 in. Because I don't need much scraps. It's not worth the offset of like losing the condition. Let's re-roll this bunch. There we go. And then I think I'll just spend the 4 on sunbathing. This much scrap is basically like having an entire stabilizer as well, which is pretty cool. These mushrooms are nearly ready too, so let's sleep here. Let's use a self-repair now, keep that condition topped up. And then end cycle. Oh, something's happening. Sleeper. Peak is waiting for you in the corridor. It's time. Peak looks pale and dishevelled, with heavy marks under their eyes and strands of hair sticking to their face. I'm ready. Peak holds up a thumbnail-sized drive. All the data I've compiled on the flux event, the effects of the wave, and the structures that hide within it is on here. You look at the tiny drive, a casket of dark secrets. I've annotated it to the best of my ability. Anyone should be able to understand the threat, the potential in this. Peak sighs. It makes for grim reading. Without intervention, the Eye will suffer a cascading collapse of systems, just like the colonies of Ember's moons. You're sure? Peak grimaces. As I can be. The evidence all points in one direction. Peak looks at the drive. This shadow in the flux, this protocol, is so hard to pin down. It adapts to any countermeasure I've tried to deploy. It is like trying to hold water in a cage. It slips straight through. There has to be a way. Peak closes their hand around the drive. We need help, Sleeper. This is about everyone on this station. They sigh. We have to set up a meeting to tell someone who can do something about this. Helene? Perhaps, Peak pauses. If anyone could protect the Eye, it's Havanage, but their internal politics will make it hard for them to act. Will they even listen to us? Or perhaps, Peak adds thoughtfully, we've been thinking about this all wrong. Peak's eyes glint. Why make a choice when we can tell both of them? Why pick a side when the only side in this entire thing is one we all need to take? Peak speaks as they think, their words barely keeping pace with their thoughts. We need to resist this together, or we'll fail. We need everyone on board, Sleeper. Peak smiles. That is the only way. We send data to both. Both. Peak gives you a firm look. I won't play politics here. They look away. Another flux event is coming, I'm sure of it, and I'm not sure we can survive without help. Peak opens their hand and holds the drive out for you to take. You need to do this, Sleeper. I can't. You know Sol, you know Helene, they trust you. Tell them I'm just another spacer, but you are part of this... Oh, sorry. To them, I'm just another spacer, but you are part of this place. Hearing someone else say it hits you hard. You are a part of the Eye. Peak is right. But right now that feels more like a weakness than a strength. I've set up a data relay at the cordon. It's neutral ground. Take the data and send it out to Havanage and the Flotilla. Once they receive it, they will come. We can be sure of that. You'll need to meet them there and take them through it all. No one could do a better job. They tuck a strand of hair behind their ear. Come with me. Peak pauses. I can't. It would only draw suspicion on you. Havanage want nothing to do with us, and Sol is paranoid at best. Peak tentatively puts a hand on your shoulder. Thank you, Sleeper. I know this is hard, but we have to move forward. We can't keep this to ourselves anymore. They step back, looking thin and pale in the harsh station light. Come talk to me once it's done. And they slip away into the eye. Alright, so I've got to... Oh no, I've done that, okay. Sometimes these don't update till you switch. Oh, there are no active drives, right? Oh, interesting, okay. So this is my activity thing here, the cordon. Alright, so warning, final episode. Once you send the data, episode purge and the final series of events on the eye, it will begin. After this point, you will not be able to return to complete other drives or find other endings. Make sure you are ready. I'm definitely going to go get my mushrooms first, and then we'll wrap this episode up here. I need my clubhead mushrooms. Not my clubhead mushrooms. Okay, I've got low dice here. I really want to get some sixes in, so let's... Yeah, nice. Let's at least get one synthesizer before we go into this final. Right, it's one clubhead. Cool beans. Come on. Yeah, so I've got two. I will hang on to these dice. I might just use one to... Let's go synthesize a stabilizer. Cool. Let's eat. Barter for food. Let's work the stacks. And then we will go and sunbathe. What a fitting way to end this dramatic episode. Get a bit of energy up. We will self-repair with one of our many bits of scrap. And then we will end cycle. Now, while I was making this episode, I was tempted to cut it into two and make it two different ones, but I don't want to do that. I think I want to leave it one big long one. So if you've watched to this point, you've just watched 2 hours of Citizen Sleeper, thank you so much, because that's just really nice. I really like the idea of people devoting that kind of time to this sort of thing. I hope you found it as entertaining as I did playing it. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Please consider leaving a like on the video. Like I always say, it does really help the channel to grow. And stick any comments you have about this episode down there too. And if you want to come over, if you're not there already, come and join our Discord server. You'll find a link in the episode description. I'm going to go make my dinner, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.